guys, welcome back to Heiko Shaves. My name is Heiko. Today is time for another great shave. I have a brand new razor here in a gray box. It has a little Mühle symbol in the front. For whatever reason, it's also damaged a little bit, but hey, that's fine as long as the content is not damaged. Someone in the comment section made me aware of the fact that Mühle has revised their R41 slightly. So talking about this puppy here, a little dusty. Let's get the dust off. Muehle R41. Pretty much everyone that has been in this hobby for a little while knows about the R41 and its aggressiveness and scary and all that. If I got the facts correctly, originally designed by an Italian company in 2009, and then Mühle, they came out with their own version of it in 2011. And then a little while later, they revised it slightly to make the really scary R41 that came out in 2011 a little bit more, agreeable and less aggressive. So 2013, I think that was. And that was pretty much the one that I'm holding here in my hand. I don't know exactly when mine was made. It's a typical three-piece arrangement here, base plate. It's considered an open comb, even though the comb itself is rather short, little teeth here, and in between it's kind of a hybrid between a closed and an open comb, I would say. But yeah, it's considered an open comb razor, and it's rather scary. And apparently they have now brought out a different version, or a revised version, which makes this whole thing a two-piece. So you have a little handle here, knob at the bottom, and you just turn that and then your top comes off. So the base plate now firmly attached to the handle. Other than that, I'm not sure if the geometry has changed altogether. I'm not sure. I have not watched any other people's reviews. From just looking at it, I would say the head looks similar, looks different. There is a slight difference. So the distance from that close comb portion and the top cap is a little different. But yeah. What we're going to do today is a first shave with this puppy, and there's actually one Mühle blade that comes with that, and we're going to use that one Mühle blade. I don't think I've ever shaved with a Mühle blade, but how bad can it be, right? German manufacturer, Mühle. It's a M and then the U with the two dots, H-L-E, Mühle, which is just a windmill. A Mühle is a mill. So that's the German word of the day, Mühle, mill. And yeah, I gotta say, I have a lot of two-piece razors, like lots of them actually, and this knob just does not turn very well. It sounds very grindy up in here. So I wonder if I would take my Razor Emporium razor loop here and just drop one little, unfortunately the bottle doesn't squeeze and this stuff doesn't want to come out either. And my phone, of course, is not silenced. Why would it be? Let's make it silent for now. So does that help? Putting a drop of oil in there, maybe it hasn't reached that down there. But yeah, it's very grindy. Most other two-piece razors, doesn't really matter which one I now pull out. They have the knob or the handle down at the bottom a little looser. So it doesn't matter if I grab, here's the Merkur Progress. This is an adjustable two-piece, but it doesn't matter. So the handle down there is just a little more forgiving, a little looser. So, looser fit. If I pull out any of the Yachi two-piece razors that I have, adjustable ones, or let's say here's the, what is it? The Merkur 37 two-piece, nicely, loosely attached down here. So it doesn't grind. It doesn't have this, doesn't feel very, very good, but it's a two-piece, and maybe my lubrication will eventually, it's very stiff, tight, grindy. Don't like it very much, but the handle is thicker, as you can see here. This is the standard normal three-piece, two-piece, much thicker handle. It is also longer. Sorry, maybe I can make this more visually appealing here. But yeah, much longer handle, so this is much thicker. Let's do a quick little weight comparison. Let's put that puppy out of the way. The thick-handled two-piece is 88.46, and the standard earlier version 70.27. So the new one is thicker and heavier and only a 2-piece. And now we're gonna open this puppy up. As I already mentioned, we're gonna grab, I do not like the grindiness. Let's get something worked in there. Oh, much better. That's the trick. Now I have some oil on my hands, but this is mineral oil. It's not toxic. It's specifically made for this razor application. What else is in here? Yeah, kind of an ugly box. Kind of looks like it has been tossed around a few times. There is an instruction manual here at the bottom. It's called the Twist R41. And supplier Hans-Jürgen Müller GmbH. Hans-Jürgen Müller, Mühle GmbH. Referred to as Mühle Shaving. Hauptstraße 18 in Stützengrün, Germany. Stützengrün, I have no idea where that is, but it's in Germany. Germany is a small country, but we have a lot of small towns, I can tell you that. So here's one blade. Scharfe Klinge innenliegend means a sharp blade inside, in like an envelope, and then an extra little non-printed wrapper, wax paper, and there are a couple wax blobs on this, my goodness, razor blade. Some people have an issue with that. I don't mind, I don't care. Take the top, put the blade on, take the rest, tip it over, and hold on to it. Now with my lubrication here, it's spinning a little freer, easier. There you go. And now we have a blade in there. Blade exposure. Looks pretty good. Yeah, looks good. Blade tabs are mostly covered. There is a little bit sticking out. And since I don't know what happened to this poor little razor in transport or storage, we're just gonna stick this in isopropyl alcohol for a second with a blade. Doesn't matter. I just want to have all the cooties removed, or killed at least. What else are we going to use? Taylor of Old Bond Street, German Street Collection, soapy soap. This soap is in its last leg. It's kind of dried out. I really don't want to let this go to waste. That's why we're going to scoop out a little bit, put it in my very inexpensive but very good shave bowl here from Amazon. I'll put a link down below, and we're going to squeeze. The soap has dried out from sitting for a very long time. Here in Nevada, Western Nevada, really low humidity, so there is definitely nothing that keeps this soap moist. And I'm going to put a kind of a little splash of water in there, and we're just going to let this sit here while we're applying a little bit of some Proraso white pre-shave. I haven't used it in a while. That's what we're going to do that. Also have the German Street, Taylor of Old Bond Street aftershave balm that we're going to be using later. So let's put some, I haven't used that in a while either. Cap doesn't want to come off. Here we go. The white, the sensitive skin version of Proraso. Very nice and creamy. Let's just rub it in here. That helps with the first pass. Extra slickness, extra lubrication, some skin protection, and remembering my other shaves with the R41. It is an aggressive razor. It's not scary if you have your technique down, but we can definitely use some extra help here. So why did I put a splash of water on this dried out soap? It's just to let it bloom, as the experts would say. So I have a little bit of water here at the bottom, just covering the soap that I pushed to the bottom. And we're just gonna let this soak for a second here. And then I also have pulled my razor out of rubbing alcohol. So we're sure that we're not gonna catch anything from a razor that looks like it has been on a couple trips in a UPS truck in the back. All right, and so we're gonna use a Yarchi brush with a translucent kind of multicolor handle with a big old coin here at the bottom, upside down obviously, right there, 24 millimeter not synthetic, very nice. We only need to get it wet. And we're gonna go right into my little bowl here. Like I said, we did a little bit of some blooming. That will help with the lathering process, I hope at least. The bowl is really nice because it has this ripped internal surface that kind of helps with agitating the lather. And we are going to lather this up. Yeah, the chunks have now come loose, so we have a little bit of a chunky lather here. That's a bummer. And pre-shave is looking good. Let's add a little bit more water here. And then when I feel like it, we're just gonna transfer some of that over into my face. The scent is just lovely, lovely, lovely. It's one of those old-fashioned traditional barbershop scents. I mean, they don't call it barbershop scent, but it's a, you know, old-fashioned English gentleman wet shave scent. I managed to get it on without smearing it right into my nose. And here we go. So, big old handle, lightly lubricated down here. The mineral oil that I put on the bottom there to get rid of this grindy sound. Here we go. And there is a Mühle blade in there, as you can see. And we're gonna go with a grain and see what it does. Yeah, well, this is definitely, Matt Pisarcik uses the term blade forward. So positive blade exposure. It's rather bladey, but 3 days of growth after a few night shifts takes the stuff right down. You just gotta keep the pressure under control. That's all it is. Really, it's pressure control above all else. I'm going to compare this to the other R41 that I have to find out if the geometry actually has changed or if it feels any different. I don't know if this blade is really the sharpest. Probably pretty good quality, but what I can tell you, this blade is relatively flat in its curvature. So more curved blade means shallower angle of attack of the blade. So this one is rather scrapey. It's not tuggy, but scrapey. You can manipulate that a little bit by angling the razor a little differently. Just keep the pressure under control. With this much blade exposure, it is really close to straight edge razor shaving, where you, with a blade in your hand, have to determine the correct angle so that you're not cutting yourself and not irritating your skin too much. So this is, yeah, that is very bladey feeling. I have completely forgotten what an R41 feels like. There is a lot of that blade edge sticking out. Not much protection from this open comb / close comb. You can have other efficient razors that feel much milder than this. Like, you guys remember we just did the comparison of the Envoy and the Sentry, and the Envoy is a straight close comb, relatively bladey feeling, positive blade exposure or a blade forward razor made by Rex Supply. And that was only like a 2.5 on my aggressiveness scale. This one here is definitely like a 4.5. I don't know what really would be a 5. Maybe a 5 would be an aggressive adjustable razor cranked up to, 11. But this definitely has a lot of blade exposure. So the blade exposure would be between one of those teeth and the top cap if the blade sticks out beyond that line. But since you have such large gaps in between those combs there, or the prongs, you know, this is really just a fixture that holds a razor blade, and the rest is just open. I know there are lots of guys that swear by this razor, and we successfully managed to do a first pass here, and this is already really clean. I have a little bit under here, under my nose, but I don't want to do the rocking motion. You guys remember what just happened during the 4th of July shave? I nicked my corner of my nose and I was bleeding and kind of sneezy and all that. I don't want to repeat this today. So I think we're not going to do that. We're just going to lather up one more time with this nice soap here and this nice knot. Yachi, I mean, you can say what you want, you know, made overseas and all that. And it is a affordable type of brush. They have really nice synthetic knots that are, you know, I want to say stiff enough, firm enough, so you have a little bit of backbone. The tips of those bristles, they are nicely, here, let me grab another one. I have a few choices. Here we go. No, that's not a Yachi. Where do we have a Yachi? Oh, here. So they are firm enough, but have nice soft tips and really nice lathering and feels good on the skin. So Yachi is definitely an affordable way to get a really high quality brush. They also make tons of good razors, as you guys will have noticed in my playlist. If you just go looking, I have lots of Yachi content. We'll see. Maybe there has been something new coming to the market and I have missed it. I also heard about a new Merkur razor that they call the 34 adjustable, I think. But what it is, it's a Progress razor head with a more Merkur modern, kind of like, if you look at the 37 here, look at that two-piece handle. A handle attached to a Progress head. So it's not a different razor from the Progress, it's just different number, different handle, and that's it. That's what I think. I've looked at pictures and yeah, they just brought out a different mix of handle and razor head, and it's adjustable just like the Progress is. All right, let's do a second pass here across the grain. Now that the majority of the stubble is already gone, so you have more clear skin and less stubble to cut off, it feels a little less bladey and a little less scrapey. Not saying that any of the respect for this razor has faded, so I'm very careful. I'm very low pressure shaving here. Getting the stuff done under the nose. Very good. I gotta say, I do like the thicker diameter handle. I didn't realize that I was missing out on thick handle razors. Most of the razors are kind of in the same ballpark. Here is a Timeless slim stainless steel that's kind of the similar diameter handle. So I guess I do like a little bit thicker handle. So this one feels pretty good to hold on to. It is pretty slick though. The knurling here, even though it looks good, it's not very much traction at all. If you compare that to, let's say, again, the Rex Envoy, which has like this lockdown, grippy, deep cut knurling, this is really superficial, very smooth, really, but it's not bad. I mean, I'm not gonna let it drop or anything, and you really have enough handle here, you can grip this properly. But oh, my lather is kind of fading down here. I'm talking too much, shaving too slow. Let's just fill in the lather a little bit. There's nothing wrong with doing that. So if you notice that your lather is kind of falling apart, just Why am I not going to do a third pass, you might ask? Third pass usually forces me to do an against the grain, and I think this razor is just too bladey to do an against the grain pass. And really, honestly, after these 2 passes, we're so clean. I might do a little pickup pass on my upper lip here. Just because I was so gentle that I may not have gotten everything. And I'm for sure not going to do against the grain on my upper lip, just so you know. Just be gentle. Find the right angle. Like I said, you can, if it's too scrapey, just lean it over a little bit more, give it a little bit more angle, right? So you can manipulate the angle of attack of this blade a little bit, and you get a smoother shave out of it if you do that, if you just play around with the angle here. This is a razor I would say is for the guy that has a little bit of experience, has a coarse beard, tough skin, one of those cattle wranglers, cowboys out in the sun all the time, skin like leather and the beard really tough and stiff, and that would be a razor I would not recommend as a beginner to buy one of those unless you really want to challenge yourself. I remember doing my first R41 shave, I nicked myself a few times. I have done a revisit with this R41 just recent few months, and it wasn't scary at all. I mean, you can see I managed to do a 2-pass shave that led to a really clean result without any nicks, but I do have a certain amount of respect because, blade exposure and the scrapiness of a almost flat sitting blade is definitely there. So I would not reach for this at 6 a.m. for sure. I do, however, and I bring this up all the time, I have this Razor Rock Lupo 95 open comb stainless steel, which is also an open comb, but you can see the prongs are much closer. So they offer much more protection from the blade edge, even though they are not touching the blade edge. It's really interesting. Maybe I'll just throw in a blade here just to show you guys what the difference is, yeah? But for whatever, and this razor is dirty, so I didn't polish this up. It's in use regularly. And this is a pretty bladey undertaking. So if you look at this here from the side, you can see that the blade edge floats above the comb. Whereas on most razors, the blade is pretty much sitting on top of the comb. Or on the close comb razors, do we have a razor they have a blade in? Yeah, so here, for example, this is the last shave we did. I need to still clean this up. The blade is kind of pointing towards the edge of the close comb. And yeah, here on this one, it's floaty above it. So this is a blade forward positive exposure razor, open comb, but the prongs are closer together. And now another one that I just did a shave with off camera because I hadn't used it in a while. This is the Muehle R41. And in this case, the blade literally sits right on top of the comb. I don't have a blade in there right now, but it sits right on the prongs. And this is a rather mild little open comb razor. So if you want an open comb as a beginner, or you want to try it out for the first time, this one is a good choice, really inexpensive. Amazon. I'll put a link down below for the Muehle R41. Someone actually asked me if I can do a comparison between the 41 and the 41, different brand 41. We might do that. I mean, this is mild. This is rather beginner friendly, very, very traditional looking. It's this skinny little pencil shaped handle. The kind of the bullet style alignment tabs and all that. This is very 1920s, 1930s looking. And it shaves really well, and it's relatively mild. But yeah, if you have prongs that are this far apart and the blade is really far open and exposed, it's rather bladey. So it takes a certain type of personality, skin type, and stubbles and all that. And I know there are a bunch of guys among you that use R41 on a daily basis, and I don't blame you. I'm just saying it's not for everyone. All right, let's rinse off. With this razor, you get a shave done in a hurry. Skin is actually really happy. I didn't nick myself at all. It didn't even, my lumpy section down here, it didn't even take one of those lumps out, and I'm not bleeding at all. So we're not gonna do alum. We could do wrinkled Thayer's bottle. The paper label just sucks, but I just don't use it often enough, so it just sits here in the bathroom. So this is witch hazel water, which is considered to be a facial toner, sucks the wrinkles together, sucks the little bleeders together, kind of like alum, but on a more gentle, in a more gentle way, I guess. And then once that is evaporated, we can put a little Tail of Old Bond Street aftershave balm over top of it. It's rather creamy, picks up on the scent of the soap pretty well. And skin is happy. Very nice, very nice. So what do I think? Yeah, it's a different version. It's a, modified version, making it a two-piece. I don't like that the knob is so tight in there. They could have made this maybe a little looser. Yeah, and the shave is what I was expecting. It's a aggressive razor. It's efficient, but aggressive and bladey and all those things. And if you like that, this razor is for you. I will probably keep it and use it for occasional comparisons against some other aggressive razors that we will come up across. Maybe a aggressive adjustable, So maybe we can actually find a razor that gets a 5 rating on my aggressiveness scale. So far, I would say this is probably a 4. It's not super duper duper aggressive, but it has all the makings of a very efficient razor. So keep that in mind, be careful. I'll put links for everything down below, all the products we used. And yeah, Yachi, very nice brushes. So if you want to check one of those out, AliExpress is probably the place to go. Amazon, they have some Yachi stuff, but not everything. And my little shave bowl here, big fan of it. Very inexpensive, very well made. And this little ribbed surface on the inside here really helps with the lathering. So overall, good shave. I hope you guys enjoyed it and you got something out of it. Now you know that you don't want to buy an R41, not the old 3-piece type, nor the 2-piece thick handle. I like the handle. If they would come out with a R89, Mühle R89, which is a more beginner-friendly, it's kind of co-developed with the Edwin Jagger DE89. If they would come out with this 2-piece thick handle, I would probably buy that one. Alrighty guys, that's it. See you in the next one. Take care. Bye.
5 minutes later.
Did the shave. I had already the camera turned off when I realized there is a left-hand thread on this big old handle here. So you can actually take the base plate off from this handle here. And I bet you can probably get this knob out as well. Usually they are pushed in and held in with a kind of a spring clip in there. But yeah, left-hand thread. So lefty tighty, righty loosey. Okay? So you can take it off. If you don't like that, you can always put a drop of Loctite on there and make it permanent. But I think for cleaning purposes, this is pretty nifty that you can actually take the handle off. So I just cleaned it. All right, so handle can be taken off.